All right. So, man, am I excited for this class. So, what I'm going to talk about in this particular class is artwork, right? The whole time, that's all we're going to do, nothing but. But we're going to talk about full color artwork.
Wait. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you. You got 20 more seconds until you're live.
Okay. I thought it
I'm
was
sorry.
That's all right. How do I know? I don't see a clock.
I'll let you know a couple seconds before we go live. How about that?
That sounds good.
All right. You go live in 3, 2, 1.
All right. Hey, welcome to the artwork class, right? So actually there's two. This particular class, what I'm going to talk about is artwork in general. And we're going to talk about vector artwork and raster artwork. And I'm going to show you how to create a gang sheet. If we got time, I'll show you how to change some colors and raster images, because that's one of the things that most people don't understand that you can do. And you can do it, well, especially after I show you how you can do it. So it's pretty cool stuff. After this class, I have a class with Ryan, and we're going to actually build an entire full color design inside of EasyView. But for this class, we're not going to go into EasyView. I'm going to talk about actually a cool program that I want to kind of steer you into, right? So when you're dealing with full color graphics, like we're talking about for UltraColour Soft or photographs and things like that, what that is, it's a raster based program. So if you're not familiar with what a raster file is, if you guys have one of these in your pocket or your purse, and you ever taken that picture, right, that selfie, you automatically created a raster file. All it is a pixel based image. And that's what we're talking about with UltraColour stuff, right? We're talking about full color CMYK images that we can print and smash down on just about anything, as you already heard most of the day today, right? So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen. So let's get into it. And I'm going to do this one. I'll hit OK. All right. So I'm going to move my picture over here. So hopefully you guys can see my screen, because what I want to do is I'm going to show you something really quick. So we're going to come into this. This is Transfer Express after. I'm going to generate, and we'll actually create a gang sheet. So those of you that are still kind of confused with what a gang sheet is, we're going to do one here in a few minutes. But I'm going to create that gang sheet in this program, right? So I'm going to show you Affinity Photo and Affinity Designer, right? And if you take a look, I just wanted to pull up the website so you can see I don't make any money on this. I'm just saying this program is awesome. And right now there's 50% off sale. It's 25 bucks, right? This Affinity Designer is the vector version. So if you're deciding what software to buy, you need a vector program and a raster or an image editor program, right? So Affinity Designer is their vector program, 25 bucks. And Affinity Photo for 25 bucks is their raster program, right? So that's their image editor. Just wanted to show you what I'm using and where to find it. That's at seraph.com. All right, so let's get busy. I have gone down here, and this is the designer. I'm gonna click on it. I'm gonna go to File, New, okay? And you're gonna get this dialog box. And let me go ahead and click on this and make that go away for now, because it will be distracting. So in the new document window, it looks very similar to Adobe products, right? So Illustrator or Photoshop. So if you have any skill set with Adobe products, right, Photoshop and Illustrator, the learning curve is really, really short, because this program emulates it really, really well. So that's kind of why I like to show it. Not everybody, let's look at it this way, right? So since this pandemic, and we're always trying to, lots and lots of people are trying to start a business, get a side hustle and that sort of thing, right? Well, I'm a Photoshop user, have been since the early 90s. Hate to say that out loud, but that's the case, right? Well, that program cost me $53 some odd a month for my seat and then every seat that I have, right? So that's a lot of money. This program at $25 right now, or 50 bucks normally, it's a one-time payment. It's not a monthly deal. It's a one-shot deal. That's why I can't stress enough, because it's every bit as powerful as Photoshop, right? This and Illustrator, these programs are rock solid. I've been working with them for not quite a year now. And the more I play with it, the more I like it. And if I was creating a side hustle, or I'm trying to grow my business and didn't do what I do, I mean, I teach software and artwork, right, for a living. So I need all of them, okay? But if I didn't, then I just had my business to focus on and try to keep my costs down and get my skill set, to get my, the quality of my artwork or the capabilities of my art up. I can't stress it enough. So went to file new, right? This is Illustrator. I mean, their version of Illustrator, right? Designer. So I'm going to come over here to the right-hand side. Now this thing is set to millimeters, so our good friends over there in the UK will be right at home, right? I'm not. I'm going to go to inches because I don't know from that. I'm America here. All right, so I can set my document up to whatever size we want. So I'm just going to set it up right now as a, I don't know, 11 and a half is my height. That's going to be our gang sheet size. Now I'm not using designer to our gang sheet here, but I want to walk you through the steps because they're very similar in the photo part, and that's where we're going to create our gang sheet. So you just keep coming down here. We got 300 DPI, right? That's our pixels per inch, basically. Keep coming down. My color is going to default to RGB. We can set it to CMYK by just clicking on a little drop-down menu. Now, when it comes to RGB and CMYK stuff, I create all my artwork in Photoshop or Procreate or whatever I'm doing. I create it using RGB, and I'll explain that in a little while when we get over to Affinity Photo. But for our gang sheets and things, and we're going to upload for Transfer Express with these UltraColour transfers, if you want to either design it in CMYK or create your gang sheet, bring all your files in, and then we're going to export a PDF as a CMYK PDF. And then all your colors are going to be, what you see on screen is what we're going to get when we send it in. So it'll be accurate, right, at that point. So right here, this does say transparent background. It's not critical right now in the designer software, but it will be in Affinity Photo. So I'm going to go ahead and create, and we get this window, okay? So what I want to do though is I have a logo that a customer gave me, right? So if I come up over here to File menu, I'll come down to Place, all right? Now we're going to use this logo. You might have seen that. If you have a sample kit, you've probably seen it. I know Josh held it up to the camera first thing this morning. So I have a PDF here and I have a PNG here, right? And I want to show you the differences. And we'll talk a little bit about file formats, because in our industry, right, what we're going to do is we need to know how or understand how to work with vector artwork and raster artwork, or bitmap is another name for raster. So if you're comfortable using bitmap as your terminology, that's fine, right? It's the same thing. They're pixel-based images, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So here's a PDF though. So I'm going to go ahead and hit open, right? And I'm going to come over here. You see my little cursor change. So I'm going to click my mouse and there it is. All right. So that's cool. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to File menu. I want to place. Let's place this PNG. All right. So I'll do the same thing there. So I clicked it and we have the same thing. So if you look at these two things, right, they look the same. It's the same type of file. It's a flat vector style file. But watch this. If I go to my view menu, okay, and I come down to view mode here and I go to outline, or you see this Command Y, that would be a Control Y on a PC. I'm going to use that a lot right now to show you some things here. And it's a preview of what's on my screen. So I'm going to go ahead and hit outline like that. And I am not seeing something here. Hang on a second. I'm going to do this over. I'm going to go to File Open. I'm going to open that PDF. Let's see what happens now. 300 DPI CMYK. I hit open, and there we go. All right. So now with this, let me see. I'm going to do the Command I or the Control I, and that's what I should be seeing. Okay, good deal. So I'm going to do that. Now, with my arrow tool here, if I go ahead and click it, this is a vector file, which means I can manipulate and affect change, right? I can work on this file. And what a vector file is, if I come down and get this little white arrow here, that's my node tool. So if I click and drag, watch what's going to happen. See that? Every one of these little squares is a selection of a node or a vector line. And the way a vector program works is I can click on a node, right? And then click another one. And I either have a straight line if I don't do anything, or if I click my second line, like click a node here and click another one and move my mouse, then a Bezier handle comes out. Watch, it looks like this, okay? And then I can control the shape of my outline by doing that, okay? So now if I go back to Command or Control Y, you can see I just made this surfboard really wide. So it's just the way that vector works. So you need a vector file for any any vinyl cutting, right? For it, the vector line tells that cutter where to put that knife, okay? So again, if I look at it this way, all that stuff there means, you know, that's my artwork. That's how this file was created. Now, I can tell you straight up looking at this, this was not created for vinyl cutting. So you don't want to cut this because you'll have a mismatch of cross cuts like crazy. But that's where places like us, Great Dane Graphics, so if you go to greatdanegraphics.com, you'll see we create artwork that cuts and weeds easy. So it's designed for cutting, right? But we're known best for our full color stuff. And I think you'll see that here in just a minute. Now, what I want to do is go back to my full color. And if I click on this, I can accidentally move something, right? So I don't want to do that. What I want to do is drag select this whole thing here, okay? Now, if I go to my layer up at the top, I can group it. So what it's doing is it's taking my whole entire image and it's grouping it together. So now if I come over here and accidentally click my mouse or move it, I'm moving it all as one unit, right? It's one piece of artwork now, which is really, really handy. So I'm not going to accidentally mess this guy up because I was sent the actual PDF, you know, working file. So what I want to do is just shrink this, make it smaller. I'm just grabbing a corner, dragging it in, you know, no big deal. But I want to bring in the PNG like we mentioned earlier. So I'm going to come to File Menu, Place, and I'm going to go to my PNG, right? And I'm going to click my mouse like you see there, and I'll make it smaller also, right? So I'm just going to kind of move it around and get it roughly the same size. And I want you to look. So it looks like two vector files, right? My PNG is the flat color style because it was a vector logo when it was created. So it has a very similar look. I can always change the size like that, right? But this is where it differs. So if I go to view and I come down to my view mode, my command or control Y, right? My preview, this is what I should see for my vector artwork. This, when you see just a box, that means that this is a raster file, right? There is no lines. There's no vector information that I can move around or manipulate, okay? So that's a big deal. And it is because vector we can change. And the cool thing about vector artwork is I can create this thing at 3 inches, right? And we can scale it up the size of a building, right? If you're gonna make some giant graphics or huge artwork, what it does is it recalculates, right? So remember I said earlier, you put one node, you put another one. Well, it knows whether that line is a straight line in between or a curved line going from one node to the next, right? So it can recalculate it. And it just redoes the math. So at, you know, whatever size you have, right? So if it's 3 inches, it's one way. If I blow it up to 14 inches, you blow it up and it recalculates the distance. And I can go, again, infinitely as big as we want. You cannot do that with raster files, right? So raster files are a finite number of pixels in there. And that's why when we create a raster file, if you do it with a high enough resolution, then you can print anything you want to print in our industry for sure. So for our industry, and that's garment or decorating, apparel decorating, things like that, we need a certain size, certain amount of resolution to print anything we want, right? So I just wanted to show you the difference. When you see lines like this, that's vector. If you see a square or there is no way to pull just that one surfboard and manipulate it like we had a minute ago, that's probably because it's either JPEG or a PNG file or a TIFF file or something along those lines, okay? So I just wanted to show you the differences there. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into Affinity Photo because that's where we're gonna do most of our work for this kind of stuff. So get out of there. Here's my Affinity Photo, and I'm going to go ahead and let's.
Hey Dan, real quick, we have a couple of questions.
Yep, yeah, shoot.
Are you able to open Corel or Photoshop or AI files in this program?
So yes, right. So in fact, I'm going to go to file formats here in a minute because what I'll show you what you can work with, what you can save as, and things like that. So
I just want to get.
Yep, that's a great question.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm in Affinity Photo now, and I did the same thing, file new, right? We're going to create our basic page that we will eventually be building our gang sheet into, right? So what I'm going to do is, if you notice on the right-hand side here, it must have remembered that I made it to inches once or twice or 3,000 times, I don't know. So I have 18 inches by 11.5 inches, and that is the size of the gang sheet at Transfer Express, right? So if we create our main document that size, Then we can put everything in it, whatever fits, right? Multiple images, multiple jobs, that sort of thing. We'll print on our sheet. So we get one sheet back with a whole bunch of logos on it, and you're gonna understand what a gang sheet is here in just a minute, right? So we just have to make sure that we set these parameters up on this right-hand side of this panel correctly. Once we do, we're in great shape. So 18 inches by 11.5 inches here. The DPI is 300. So just punch in a 300 in there. That is high resolution, right? That is not, if a customer gives you something that they stole off the internet and it's 1 inch by 1 inch, and they want you to put that large on the shirt, ain't gonna work, right? The data, there's not enough data in that little file. There's not enough pixels. The resolution is too low. That's gonna be a 72 or 90 pixel image probably. And if we're gonna blow it up to 10 or 11 inches, there's no way. It's at 1 inch right now, right? So it just doesn't work. That's why images look really soft, they're really chunky. They, when you try to upsample raster files, which is why if we create the artwork at the proper resolution and stuff, we're gonna be in good shape when we go to print. So next thing, come down to color, right? So knowing that this is gonna be my gang sheet, this is where my color stuff resides, right? So I'm gonna always, for my gang sheet again, make it a CMYK file. If I was going to create a 14 inches by 14 inch image at 300 pixels per inch, and I'm going to create my own artwork, personally, and this is what we do at Great Dane, is that's the size we use. We create our artwork at 14 inches by 14 inches. Well, that won't even fit on a gang sheet, right? Because my gang sheet's 11.5 by 18. So I can get some of it, but we're probably not going to print that large anyway, because I'm a pretty big guy, wear a XX shirt, and 14 inches is going to be way too big, even on me. So it's not necessary. But when you created that size at that resolution, now I can print anything I want. And if we were at a real trade show, I could show you my booth wall graphics, because we take our designs and we blow them up to 6 or 8 feet, right? Because we started with this resolution. So once you understand what this right panel does and you put the proper information in there, that's all you need to know. Every time you create a raster file, use these numbers and you're good to go. All right, so again, this is my gang sheet, so I'm gonna go CMYK on this. And I am gonna click on this little checkbox. You see that it says transparent background, because I want everything I create to be on a transparent background. If I'm gonna create artwork and paint on this thing, for instance, if I do it on a colored background, now I gotta figure out a way to remove that background, or somebody else somewhere at Transfer Express needs to try to do it, right? So I don't recommend it. All you gotta do is hit this little checkbox, and when I hit create, you're going to see my box is done, right? So anytime you see gray and white checkers like this, what that means is that is a universal representation of transparent pixels, okay? So this is my basic interface for Affinity, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. This is not this is how Affinity, a course on it. If you want to find out more about it, you can go to greatdanegraphics.com. I have a couple of video mini courses there. I am working on some new stuff as well, but this is for the cost, you cannot beat this thing at all. So on the left-hand side, these are my tools, right? So when I click on my tools, you notice the top here, just like Photoshop, if you got any skills in that, this is my options bar. That changes, right? So what it does is it allows me to, whatever tool I choose, this bar at the top is how I control, or how I do what I can do, right, with the tool that I choose. So as you move, you see all this stuff changes in this panel. And that's basically how it works. I click on a tool, and this up here, this panel, that options bar tells me, okay, what do you want to do with that tool? Here's all your options to work with it, right? So leaving this aside for 1 second, I'm going to show a couple of designs that we're going to work with here. So I'm just going to hit open, and I'm going to do like this. I'm just going to hit my space bar so it stays on my screen so you can see it, right? So we're going to use this emblem, and we're going to use it like, say, about a 2-inch design. So what I want you to kind of think about as we build this thing is whatever your jobs are is going to decide or determine how many different images we can get on one gang sheet. Because this gang sheet, it's pretty standard, it's pretty, I guess, realistic, and it's got a lot of things on it. So this image, for instance, is one of our stock designs. So Great Dane Graphics, right? We're known for this kind of artwork, full color, high-end illustrative stuff, which is why I'm so super stoked that Transfer Express now has these graphics inside the designer. So when you want to create your own artwork, right, for UltraColour soft transfers, it's in there. And my next class with Ryan, I'm going to show you how to do it. All right. For right now, though, we're going to focus on a gang sheet. So there's one. I'm going to hit my down arrow here, right? And here's another design here. And all these designs were created in Affinity Photo, by the way. We put the words in there. If you notice, right, this word goes underneath this foot and above and over this part of the image. How do we do that? It's the magic of layers. All right. So look at that, man. Like, is that cool or what? So if you're a detailing guy, you got a customer out there, this is shiny and super sweet. It's just a killer thing. So here's a bulldog. Maybe you're doing some work for for a team, right? School. And we're gonna make this little guy like 1.25 inches by 1.25 inches, right? Super small. Maybe you want to put it on a yoke, maybe you want to put it on a tag, something like that. We can add those things in. If you have your logo, you can, if you say, well, I got 3 designs and I got some room left over, right? We'll make some small left chest size images of your own logo and add them to every order you print. And because if you do that, you'll have a nice little stack after not too long, right? So here's another cool one. And look at all the colors. We're all over the place, right? Purples and golds and oranges and blues and you name it, doesn't matter, right? All these designs are going to be added to this image here, to this design. Now, what I want to show you is if I go to my view menu, right, this thing says show rulers. Well, as default, it doesn't show you that. So I wanted to show you where to find it. And here's some panels, right? We got a color panel, an adjustments panel. Now this is what I call Affinity Photo as well as Photoshop, because Photoshop has this panel up here in the stuff at the top, right? That's the Corvette engine, man. There's so much power in this panel or this list of things here. I can't even begin to tell you. So that you lifted up the hood just now, right? And we're looking at the Corvette engine. That's the kind of power that this thing has. Same thing as the image adjustments panel in Photoshop, right? So if you're a Photoshop user, stuff I'm showing you here works the same way, okay? Now here's the layers and whatnot. So what I want to do is go back to here and go to view menu and come down to studio, because this is where all my panels reside. So, and what that means is whatever we're working on, if my layers are not visible, right? If they're not on my screen, I need to go to the view menu here, come down to studio, and then my layers are here, right? So here's for instance, we're going to use this transform quite a bit in this lesson here, right? So I'm going to go to transform and I'm going to pull it up and I'll get this little window here, right? And the cool thing is we can move it around as we need to, because this design is going to get kind of crazy and kind of wonky, right? So, all right, let's do this. I want my layers visible. And what a layer is literally just, you can put something on a layer, you put something on another layer and so on, and add multiple layers. And then you can grab individual layers and move things around, right? And you'll see what I'm talking about here. So I'm gonna go to File menu and I'm gonna come down to Place, okay? And these are the designs that we're gonna work with. So I wanna go ahead and let's get this guy, this Tigers, right? I'm gonna hit open here. And now you see my cursor change. It wants me to click my mouse, okay? So there's my Tigers. Looking at my transform palette panel, it came in at 13.5 inches. Well, that's too big. I don't want it that big. I want this guy 10 inches, right? And as long as we have this little thing right here, if you notice in my panel here, if I click on that and you see this little bracket, that means those two things go together, and that's the width and the height. So it keeps it proportionate. So if I hit go 10, I hit my return key. He's 10 inches wide by 4 3/4 tall, right? So that's the size I'm looking for. And I'm gonna give you a little tip, right? So when we create our artwork for just about anything, you wanna make sure that we have, first off, I gotta put some rulers in here. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna go to the view menu and I'm gonna come down and show rulers, okay? And here's a little trick. So these are guide rules. If we click in here and we pull it out, when I'm doing that, look at the numbers there by my cursor, right? You can see where it goes. Like basically that's at the 2-inch mark and things. So our gang sheet, we need to have 1/4 inch all the way around for it to work, okay? So I can do this and I can come over to 0.25, like something like this, right? It gets a little difficult. Or if I just bring it out and let it go, okay? And then grab it. What I want you to do is look at the ruler on the left-hand side. Right now, you see that little blue line? Watch what happens when I start over, right? So I click and I drag it out. Now look at the ruler on the left. There is no blue line in there, and I wish there was. So for some reason, that's one little thing that's different than Photoshop. Photoshop would show me exactly where that is, and here's why it's beneficial. So if I let it go, okay? Now I come in here and I grab it again. look inside the left ruler there. So I can go back to 0 here, and I can come down to 1/4 of an inch and let it go. So I know that that's at my quarter mark. So I do the same thing here. Just let it go anywhere, and then now I just come back over and click on it, and I'm going to go up to my 1/4 inch mark and do the same thing on my sides, right? I just find it easier to drag it out, let it go, and then put it where it goes. Because I can do this. If I click and drag, see the numbers there? So I'm going to go all the way over. Remember, we're at 18 inches here. So if I go to, 17.75, right there it is. I just think it's easier to watch the lines up here. So now you can see a blue line here and a blue line there. Now we got our images set there. We're good to go. So Command 0, by the way, or Control 0 will allow you to preview in full screen, and it's up there somewhere, but I got a long way to go, so I've got to get busy. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy, and I know he's 10 inches because I made him 10 inches. So before I do anything else, what we do when we're working on something like this, don't just say, oh, you know what, it's going to be 10 inches, because I know it's going to be, and when I do my left chest, it's going to be 3.5 inches automatically, because every image is different, right? Every logo is different. When you see all the logos that's going to be on here, you'll see what I'm talking about. So we'll take this guy and print him out, right? On a laser printer. Could be black and white, makes no difference. I can print on multiple sheets. If all I got is a letter size page, print it out on 2 sheets and put it together and look at it actually printed. Because looking at it on my screen, thinking, oh, that's 10 inches, it looks great. Or my left chest is 3.5 on screen. Technically, I'm at 3.5, but maybe my image is like my logo, Great Dane logo, is a big round circle. Well, 3.5 inches gets a little bit obnoxious for a left chest. It's like when it's got a lot of meat to it, right? If it was just thin lines or just 2 lines of copy, that's different. But depending on the image, and that's what everything is determined by, what the image is and how it looks, right? So if your customer's logo is a big solid circle that's got some heavy fat logo stuff or fat fonts or whatever, right? Print it out and make sure that that's what you want, because a lot of times you're going to say, oh man, way too big, or that's not big enough, and then you can bump it up. It's just an easy way to figure it out how to do it. So I'm going to come down here and bring this image down to the bottom of my page. Okay, let's go ahead and add in some other images. So we have the artwork that's created. Maybe art department creates all this stuff. One guy does production runs. Who knows? Everybody does it different. Let's take Derek's detailing stuff in here, right? So I'm going to click on that and bring it in. And let's go ahead and make him, he's at 14. That's just too much. Let's make him 11 inches. Okay. And I'm going to hit the enter key. And now let's put him up here. Right. So already we have 2 different designs coming on this same page. I'm going to file menu. I'm going to come down to place again. Let's take a look. Cardinals. Yeah. Cardinals baseball. We're going to do something for I don't know. Watch. I'm going to click my mouse and he comes in huge. Okay. And he comes in huge because remember, when we create my artwork, we create this at 14 inches by 14 inches, okay? So what I want to do is just scale it down. And since this particular design is going to be, say, on a backpack, right? So I can come over here and I'm going to say, all right, I want to make this guy 5.5 inches, okay? And I hit my enter key and I get, there he is. So remember Josh this morning talked about Tetris? You can see where we're starting to go, right? We're going to start moving all kinds of things around. We might have to rotate stuff to make them fit. But the more stuff you get in here with just enough room for you to put a scissors around, you'll be good. Just got to make sure we got a 1/4 inch all the way around, right? So here we go, file menu. Let's go ahead and place it. Let's see, Johnson Electric, hit open, click my mouse, comes in really big. But for this one, let's go ahead and make it 5 inches, right? Maybe it's, I don't know, something else. It needs to be 5 inches, whatever. The cool thing is, it doesn't matter, right? We can make it whatever size we want. Just make sure that transform panel is up. All right, so let's go here. And what I like to do is, if you notice, I only got 1 of each right now, okay? And it depends. So looking at this, maybe we're gonna have, I don't know, we're gonna print 10 shirts and this guy's ordering nine shirts from us, right? This right here is for a small thing. Maybe they're only gonna need 10. But maybe this guy might need 20 and some other things might need 50 or 60 images, like the little 1 inch or 1.25 inch images. The more of those you have on his page and you order 10 sheets and you get the idea, right? So you have to look at the art and look at how many, prints we're going to need. So, all right, let me just keep putting it in here. Some of the stuff that we're going to use, we're going to bring this guy in here. And we're going to use this on a hat, right? But what I want to do for my hat, we'll click on it, it's ginormous, or again, 14 inches. So I'm just going to kind of shrink it, get it to fit here on my page. And then now what I'm going to do is make it 2 inches. Or you know what? Why not? Let's make it 2¼ inches because we can do whatever we want, right? And what we're going to use that guy for is the hatch on a 3/4 side, right? Not in the center, not a big piece, just that one little logo, that little emblem, you know, that kind of thing. So go to File, Place, and let's do this guy here. We're going to bring in, we're going to put this guy in a bunch and everything we print. So we might do it, you know, a bulldog design, something like you see at the bottom, but we're going to have this guy on every shirt, right? We're going to do a full front, one print. This little guy as a tag is another print. And let's just go 1.25. Or this can be your logo, right? Whatever. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to come in here and just kind of put it up to my 1/4 inch mark. Now, I'm missing one more. So let's go ahead and File, Menu. Let's go to Place. And what I want to place is where is it? Let's go here. Because, you know, we saw this guy, so we may as well use him. Right, click the mouse, it comes in big, make it small, but I know that's going to be a left chest, and I want that one 3.5. Because I already printed it out, and 3.5 is okay on this. So always print your stuff out. You will find that it helps tremendously get the accurate size. You might find it needs to go up a little bit smaller, you know, whatever it might be. And so there we go. So this is all the.
Again, we have another couple quick questions about the sizing and placement. The bulldog on the box is touching the design, but the Johnson Brothers is off the design. Will this affect the actual size?
Man, I did not hear it. Sorry. Can you say it one more time?
Sure. The one says the bulldog. The box is touching the design, but the Johnson Brothers is off the design. And then some were saying, can you see the border is not touching the design?
Yeah. Look at the border now.
The lines and the, I guess,
right.
Just talk about how they're inside the lines again.
Right. So the edge of the file. So when I click on this guy, this is where the art is. Now, you can have the art file like crop down all the way, touching the actual pixels of the artwork itself. Personally, I don't like to do that because sometimes it clips off little bits and pieces. Sometimes, right? So what I like to do is just when I create this artwork, crop it down as tight as I can to the art itself by leaving just a little bit of space. And like, for instance, this guy is pretty tight, right? So if I come over here and put him just up to the line, then he's not past that 1/4 inch mark. So he's good, right? He's legal, or he'll work, right? They can print him. And these guys, once you upload it, if there's an issue, customer service will let you know that there's an issue. But for the most part, that's what you want to do. Just like I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of the transform panel. If I need it, I can always bring it back. So you can see this here is correct. Now, I'm not worried about this one overlapping that one, right? Because it's on a transparent background, and once it prints, I can just cut this with a scissors, right? No sweat. So these are the designs that I'm going to work with. But look at all that extra room we have, right? So if I'm going to be adding this bulldog, for instance, to all the designs, that all the shirts that we print, maybe the hoodies or whatever, maybe we'll put them on a sleeve, on a tag, behind, whatever. I need a bunch of them. Okay. So what I'm going to do is show you how I would duplicate that. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this tigers on. I'm going to uncheck them. So look at my layers over here. See those little check boxes? If I click on that checkbox, this guy's gone. He's still in my document because I can always bring him back by clicking that little checkbox. Okay. So that's my preview icon on my layers. I'm going to get rid of, that guy there. Let's just hide these. All we're doing is we're hiding this stuff, right? I'm going to hide this one. We'll hide the ocean, and we'll hide Johnson Electric too. So, so what I want to do is I want multiple bulldogs, right? So if I select it and I right click it and I come down to duplicate, okay? If you saw the screen, it kind of duplicated. So now there's 2 layers of that little bulldog, and they're right on top of each other. So as long as I get my arrow tool selected, I can move this guy over, right? Just like this, okay? So now what I can do is I can select these 2, turn off this one. If you uncheck this one, it's real easy to do this and turn on just the 2 that you have. I can right click on it and I can merge visible, okay? So the only 2 visible were that guy. So now I'm going to click on it and just move it down. So now we have 4 of him, right? Like this. I just nudge him over. Okay. So now I can right click on that one and I can duplicate it again. and do like this. I can do it again, however many we need, right? So what I'm going to do now, though, is that I know I'm coming down here and I'm seeing all this guy. I'm going to turn on my tigers because I don't want to do another row because you see we'd run into him, okay? So what we can do is that looks pretty good. Now just turn everything else on and see what we got and where we are, right? So I know like this guy, maybe I need a few more. So I'm going to right click on him, come over here, duplicate, and we'll just push him up, okay? Now this guy here, if I put two next to each other, right, let's do that. Let's go ahead and duplicate him, okay? So now when I did that, I come over here, I got, just the two. So if I come over here though, and I go to the corner, see that little arrow switches to like a rounded corner deal? If I turn it, right, hold my shift key, I can proportion it, or not proportion, but I can lock it into a certain size. Whoops. If you don't let it go again, it'll go into angles, right? So 90 degrees, 45 degrees, that sort of thing. So I can click on this guy here and put him in there, right? Something like that. I can take this one here, do the same thing. There we go. And tuck him in. All right, so probably can't get three of them inside of here, but yeah, we can. We got all kind of room. No, we don't. We can run it into there. So what happens if? That's a magic question I love to ask when I work on these things. Is what happens if we did it upside down? Because it doesn't matter which direction the artwork is, as long as we're not touching, right? So that we got that space there. And look at this. Now we're going to right click this one. We'll duplicate it and come over here. And look at that. We got three of them fitting now. Okay. So I got one of these guys here. Let's go ahead and right click on him. And we duplicate. And we'll just tuck one here. See, this is fun. So right click again, duplicate this one. And then as you can see, I think we got a pretty full on up gang sheet here. Okay. So there you go. You design it, you put it all together, get it like you want it. Now what I'm going to do inside of this Affinity photo, if I just come over and I hit save, it's going to save an AF photo file. What does that mean? It's an Affinity photo proprietary file format. So if I'm going to go here now, let's just go ahead and open. I want to show you what it looks like as an extension, right? So I did this one today and it's hidden. So it must have it, I must have it hidden in the design. So I'm just going to go to file menu now and export. So this is what you do. You create your artwork and you export it by any of these program or any of these file formats that you like, right? So PNGs, JPEGs, TIFFs, Photoshop document, that's what a PSD is. PDF, SVGs, I mean, you can't really save this as an SVG because that is a vector only. This is a raster file. So what I'm gonna do is go to my PDF here. I want a PDF for print. I want it 300 pixels, right? And I'm gonna go ahead and export it now. And I'm just gonna do this. We have a bunch of twos on my desktop and I'm gonna hit save, okay? And it's saving or exporting the item, right? Okay, there it is. That's my preview. So what it does is I just had the little checkbox to say preview when it's finished. So it opens it up and I look at that and that looks pretty cool. Look at all those logos we got on there, right? All right, so now let's do this. I'm gonna go ahead and quit that. I'm just gonna hide Affinity Photo here for now. So let's go back. Remember I said we're gonna walk through how to upload that guy now. So if you take a look, there he is, all these twos sitting on my desktop, all right? Now, in order to do this, in order for it to work, you have to log in. So I'm logged in here, right? So you can see my name here, you would see your name there. So what I want to do is hit this upload artwork button. And it's going to come to this page. So right here, you start following each of these questions or each of these numbers here, these points. There's number one, there's number two, that kind of thing. You just have to fill out the right info. So I'm going to click there and here's a bunch of twos, right? There's my file. So that's the one I want. I'm going to hit open and it's uploading it, right? Now it says, give your art a descriptive name. I'm just going to do, maybe gang sheet and then 4.7.21, whatever. You make it whatever you need it to be. To me, that's kind of descriptive. At least I know when it was created or uploaded. Now I'm going to scroll over here and it's going to say, hey, artwork checklist. If you created an RGB, we're going to print in CMYK. Well, we're good because we created the file in CMYK, right? So that part's taken care of for us. So I'm going to cruise up over here and I'm going to say, hey, I want a full color transfer. All right. So I'm going to click on that and then I get some more options. And what do you want? Well, I want UltraColour soft for this one or stretch or whatever. You got them right there. Right. So I want this to go, my 100% cotton. Yep. Maybe I want, you know what, maybe we want 50-50. I don't know, whatever you're working with. And as far as fabric colors here, I like do various because who knows what color shirts we're going to print them on. And I don't know that that really matters, but I do it anyway, right? So how many do you want printed? I don't know, maybe we want 10 gang sheets printed, which means I don't even know, do the math of all those logos of how many bits and pieces we're going to have. But right here is key, right? So I want it to be 18 inches wide because that's the file that we created by 11.5 inches, okay? And just keep going over here. That's full color because of the process that we chose. My ink colors are going to be full color. So right here, I can say, hey, Dane, and I'm going to do whatever, I don't know, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. I approve my instant art quote here, right? I can click on that. It says that. All you're looking for is this green button. So answer the questions. How do you want it shipped? That sort of thing, right? But when you get that, send us your artwork button, you push that button and it goes. So let's say we did this gang sheet. We're still waiting to hear back from a couple of customers. You can say, I'm not ready to place this order, but would like to save it. So if I choose that one, then it's going to sit there for 30 days, up to 30 days. Then I guess it disappears. But then you can, at least find out, okay, this gang sheet with all those logos is going to cost me 121 bucks, for 10 sheets. And then you do the math, and I'm not going to even attempt to do the math, but that's a lot of logos right there, right? So you do the per piece and it drops obviously significantly. So if we got any questions, I can take another like a minute, and I want to show some cool stuff about this program. So I'm gonna kind of set up for that now.
People have been asking, Dane, just for a little bit of a comparison between like Corel and Paint Shop Pro, some of those programs, and this one and the learning curve.
Right. Okay. So Corel Draw, if you own the graphic suite, you have something called Corel Photo Paint. Photo Paint will do a lot of the same stuff that you see here. So if you already own it, you're probably good. Photo Paint does not do everything that Adobe Photoshop does, though, because I've written books on it, and I have had to take out a couple of lessons, right? But if you own Corel Draw Suite, then you don't need this. But this is for the people that are just coming into the industry, or you don't want to pay for the upgrade. Because think about it, I don't remember what the upgrades are, but Corel's probably what, $400 something. You got a monthly option and you got a big chunk price option. Adobe Photoshop, for instance, is only monthly, right? So I'm not going to save this, by the way, y'all. I'm just going to hide that, and I'm going to hide this. So this program is every bit as good. I've found nothing that does not work, right, like Photoshop. So I mean, this is just as good as Photoshop, in my opinion. And I'm a Photoshop guy. For 25 bucks, can't beat it with like a drum. It's ridiculous. So I want to do this really quick. So I'm going to show you how to change some colors, okay? So I'm going to open this guy up in Affinity Photo because this is huge. This is what happens if. So this is a red plane, basically monochromatic style, super easy. Hit this adjustments panel. I'm going to click on this HSL, right? So I click that. I got 3 options. This is new, and I think it's dumb in my opinion. That's just me. But, this is what I want to do. Inside of here, Photoshop, if you're familiar with it, has a drop-down menu. I want to affect everything. So this little button here has all the colors in it. That means if I grab this hue slider, I'm changing the color of this plane to blue, purple, whatever my color needs to be from my customer, right? So let's do that. Let's do a green. What my customer says, that's pretty good, but it's a little too bright. I'm not quite as neon. If you come over to this luminosity shift, now you got to be really careful, because if I click on it, knock it down a little bit, notice everything gets a little darker, including the grays. But I'm just going to go ahead and reset it. I'll put that to 0. Maybe we want to get us a nice blue plane. All right, I hit the merge button and we got a blue plane now, okay? Super quick, super easy. There's 3 levels of complexity, I like to call it, right? So let's go ahead and open up the next one. And I will do more questions here in just 1 second. I just want to show this. So obviously you guys remember this, right? I had them in my Cardinals job. Well, this is our stock designs. Well, when we paint things, right, we paint them to paint them. His uniform is blue. But if your team is red, like you saw a minute ago in the Cardinals design, you have to be able to adjust that. And when you know how, I'm showing it right now, I'm going to hit this, right? And I want to say, hey, Affinity, focus on my blues only. And look what happens. It literally focuses on the blue. And now when I move this hue slider, look, I can find whatever color my team happens to be, right? And hit my merge. Now I got it where it needs to be. I can do that with that slider because I told it to focus on those colors. Now here, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to come over to this next one. Let's go ahead and open up. That was the second level of complexity, right? And the third one would be this needing a selection tool, and I'll show you why. All right, so this guy is super cool. For my buddies over there in the UK, you may have seen this one somewhere. So what I want to do though is I want to change this stripe, maybe the red stuff, to blue. Well, if I come over here and hit this HSL and hit the default thing again and say, all right, I want to change just the red stripes in here. So I go to my reds, I tell Affinity focus on the reds. Now I move this hue slider, look what happens, right? It's changing the reds, but it's also changing its flesh color and some of the other stuff because there's red in those. I don't know if you want to go with that, but you might, right? So it's not the best way to get accuracy, okay? So what that means is it's not going to work with just the drop down, or rather just the buttons. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that and just start over. So what I need to do is go to my layers, it's selected, and come over here to this selection tool. I'm going to mouse over it and leave it there, selection brush tool, right? And I don't have a lot of time because I want to get some more questions, but I want to zoom in. I'm just going to change, well, I'll do a super quick. So right bracket key will make your brush size larger. The left bracket key will make your brush size smaller, right? So I'm going to click and drag, and this is not going to be accurate, right? Because I don't have enough time to make it perfect, but I think you'll get the idea. Okay, so I just clicked the wrong tool. I got to get back on this one. There we go. All right, so I'm going to come over here to my adjustments, and now I'm going to click on that. And now I have it selected. So Affinity says I'm going to mess inside of these marching ants. So I don't have to fool with any of this. I don't have to say just change the reds. I can just start moving my slider to whatever I want, right? And maybe we want to make it green, hit my merge, deselect, we just changed it, right? So that's how you change colors in raster image. You can absolutely do it, but you want to make sure that your artwork is large enough. Everything we got at Great Dane Graphics, our full color stuff, is 14 inches by 14 inches at 300 pixels, and you're good to go. So I can go ahead and answer any other questions now. We got a few minutes left.
Hi, Dane. We have another one. Can you vector artwork in this program?
Can you what?
Can you vector artwork in this program in Affinity?
So I've never tried, but I don't think so. See, that's the reason there's vector artwork and there's raster artwork. And that's the reason there's Affinity Designer, their vector program, and Affinity Photo, their image editor, right? Adobe has it as Illustrator and Photoshop. Corel has Corel Draw and Photo Paint. These guys have Designer and Photo. So yeah, they do separate things.
Thank you.
Some questions about whether or not using this on a desktop computer or like an iPad.
So it has both, right? So I have it on my iPad. I'm using my desktop computer right now. I think the iPad version might be $10, something like that. Maybe 20 if it's not on sale, right? But like right now, I'm gonna just, for the cost, guys, there's absolutely nothing this thing has not been, that I have not been able to do as of yet. And I haven't tried everything, but I've been working in it for almost a year. It's rock solid. It's awesome, awesome, awesome. For the money, blows my mind. Blows my mind from a Photoshop guy. So just saying.
And then somebody asked about modifying photos, like you would in Bridge to work with raw format.
Yeah. So yeah, you can modify photos. I mean, I have optimizing lessons and things. It takes a photo and makes it good. I don't have enough time left. I only got like a minute or so left here, so I can't show it now. But if you go to my greatdanegraphics.com website and register with us, when I do those videos and those kinds of things are available, you can find out when and where that will be.
And I know somebody was just asking if you can do the color change on PNGs, which I'm sure you can. So.
Yeah, so you can do the color change on CMYK files as well. Doesn't matter. I just use PNG when I create my art. And when I do my gang sheet, they need to print it in CMYK. Once you bring all that stuff in and you export it as a CMYK PDF, you're done. It does the conversions, you're good to go.
And do you know once you have a license, can you install it on more than one computer, the same purchase?
You know what? I don't remember the licensing. I don't know. So that's something, if you go to the website and take a look, you'll find out more information on that kind of stuff there. I just have the one, right? I work on mine and I bought it for everybody. So my other artists have the same program as well. For $50, I'm good.
that covers most of them. A lot of interest in the program, so there's a link to it in the chat.
Yeah, and I will be answering questions when I get back to the chat here after we're done, so.
All right, yeah, we've got through most of the questions and we'll answer them after it's over.
All right, that's it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys for being here.